I'm going to begin by using a small piece of watercolour card, and this is just measuring around about 3 inches. It's just slightly smaller than 3 inches and has been cut to fit the frame that I'm going to be using. So I've brought out some of my Archival inks. This is the Saffron. I'm just using a blending tool. I'm just going to apply some colour layers using different colours of ink, which I'll show on the screen each time, onto the watercolour card. Okay, so now I've added the yellow and the green, I'm going to bring out the Gears mask from TCW, and using the tree branch archival ink, I'm going to go over and add some of that tree branch colour to my card as well. Before I move on to the next step, I just need to clear my craft mat to get rid of that ink because I don't want that contaminating anything else while I'm working. So I'm just having a bit of a tidy up and then we'll move on. A little bit of stamping now, so I'm going to use the Take the Time set from Indigo Blue, and I'm going to use this fabulous red rubber Steampunk Eye stamp from the set. And as you can see, I'm using the jet black archival ink from Ranger to stamp this focal image in the centre of this 3x3 piece of card. And that's good enough for me. So the next step, I'm going to pull out an old Tim Holtz photopolymer stamp set to add some details into the background. So to begin with, I'm going to use the stacked Moths and Butterflies stamp, and I'm going to use the tree branch brown again and just use that to add some detail into the background of my card. When you're doing a steampunk or grungy type card or any project like that, it doesn't really matter if you don't get a perfect impression, so there's no need to be too precious about it if you don't get a perfect impression each time. Next, I'm going to bring out my Sepia ink from Ranger, and I'm going to use the text or script block that comes with that stamp set. I'm just going to place that onto my acrylic block. As you can see, it's a well-loved stamp set, and I'm just going to add some text detail in to the card as well at the top and the bottom. And the next colour I'm going to use is the Garden Patina. This, I think it's a new colour this year, and I'm going to use the very, very small Admit 1 stamp from this set on my acrylic block, and I'm just going to add some little colour highlights just randomly around the card. So to finish off the ink work, I'm going to bring in the gorgeous grunge stamp set from Stamping Up, and I'm going to use the speckled stamp from this set, and again using the jet black archival ink, I'm just going to add a few splatters and little foxing points onto the base, and I think that's just about done, as far as the stamping's concerned, that is. So being the neat and tidy person that I am, I'm just going to have another quick clean up on my craft mat, and then I'm going to bring out my Signo Uniball white opaque rollerball pen. And the only thing I'm going to use this for is just to add that white catchlight into the eye. So I'm going to put that to one side for now and bring out the Shadowbox frame that I'm going to be using. So this is just a very inexpensive 3-inch Shadowbox frame that I'm going to paint with just some very cheap black acrylic paint. I'm beginning just by painting the inside of the frame so that when you look through the glass in the actual frame opening or the aperture of the frame, then you will see the black in there, and that just helps to tie it all together because the outside of the box is also going to be painted black too. So the last thing you want to see when you look into the frame is the natural wood that the frame is made from. So I'm just doing that to tie everything together first of all. And once we've done with the inside, we're going to move on to the outside. One of the things I love about using acrylic paints in this way is that you're almost guaranteed that by the time you've got round, then it's all going to be dry. So literally the only thing that's going to be wet is the last place that you painted, and that will dry in next to no time at all. So I've tried to cut down the actual video showing me painting the box. Obviously it's not the most interesting thing to watch, so I've tried to cut it down as much as I possibly can without losing any of the flow and cohesion of the video. So just to finish off, you will see me just giving it a final blast with my heat gun just to make sure it's all nice and dry before I move on to my next step. So for my next step, I'm bringing out my heavy carvable modelling paste from Winsor & Newton, and I have my trusted Is Stencil from TCW. And I'm just using a spatula. I'm going to pass that modelling paste through the stencil just around the front face of that frame. And remembering we're doing a steampunky, grungy kind of style, it doesn't matter too much whether some of the writing hasn't come out perfectly, so I'm happy with the way it's turned out. So all I'm going to do is just clean up the edges and scrape off some of the excess paste from the inside of the frame there, and then, because I know I'm going to be painting over it again in a little while, so it's all going to be obscured. It doesn't take too long for the modelling paste to dry if you heat it with a heat tool, but just bear in mind that if you hold the heat gun over the top of the modelling paste for too long, it will try and bubble up as well. So just be careful on that one. So as you can see, now it's dry. I'm just using the same very cheap black acrylic paint, and I'm just going to paint over the entire of that modelling paste on the front of the frame. So I will give it a couple of coats because it will take one or two just to make sure I've covered every little nook and cranny. So using the heat gun, I'm just going to give that first coat a dry, and then I'm going to give it a second one just to make sure that everything is covered. All nice and dry now, so it's time to break out the metallic paints, and for this one I'm using the Indigo Blue Miss Moneypenny, which is a copper colour. And all I'm going to do is just using a very dry brush, I'm just going to pick out that modelling paste writing with the tip of the brush and then just help to lift that from the base. As you can see, the writing is now starting to pop from that background. And to make sure that I'm blending in the entire background, I will be adding just a very, very thin layer of that dusted copper also to the edges and the outsides of the box too. So you'll see me adding it to the edges and also along the actual flat sides of the frame, and also a little bit just to the back end as well. So now, with any luck, if I've done my job right, that is going to look a little bit like beaten copper. Now that that's complete, I'm going to pop it to one side and bring back out my actual piece of artwork that's going to go in the frame, and just add a little bit more to it. So I've raided my junk drawer and I've pulled out some old cogs that I've got in there, and I'm just going to adhere those down using craft glue. Now when this dries, the white craft glue will go completely clear and it will disappear completely. And I'm going to bring the frame back in now just to make sure that I've placed those in the right places so that they're not going to catch on the outside of the frame. So again, I've brought out some metallic paints from Indigo Blue. This is the Emerald City Green, and I've also brought out the Sleeping Beauty Blue, which I'm going to mix together to create a kind of teal colour, a turquoisey teal colour, almost a kingfisher blue, and I'm going to use that to dry brush over just to add a little bit of verdigris kind of effect to that copper as well. And I'll also bring out a smaller brush in a little while and add some to the actual inside of my piece of art. So just grabbing that fine detail brush, and I'm going to pick up some of that mixed paint and I add that to the cogs and gears that have been stuck down onto my card base. So this is just giving the impression of a little bit of verdigris and also bringing the colour from the outside of the frame into the actual centre of the main focus on that piece as well. And I'm just going to add in just a few dots and a few speckles just to help that continuation of colour. To add a finishing touch, I'm just using my big chat stickers and I've chosen the word imagine, and this is the white out of the black background. I've just stuck that down onto my card and then we're ready to assemble. So I just need to drop the front in and then the back, and then we can press our levers and our stays into place and we are complete. I'm calling this project complete. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this little bit of a different type of project from me. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, and also if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all again real soon. Bye for now.